mahal diskutieren. Of course, if you're not German, you will not understand it. But imagine that you flew your country because of war, and you are in Germany. Imagine that you have to learn the language. Imagine that you will have to learn politics of Germany, democratic system, history, and intercultural traits. How would you understand it? That's where integration teachers come in. That's where I come in. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation about my study about the integrating into German society through politics and history, the effects of the orientation course to refugees in Brandenburg, Germany. I just spoke a little bit of German because I want you to understand how impactful and how difficult it is, especially for a refugee, to learn the language, more so the politics of the country. So, this picture is very much well known in the internet. 2015, you could perhaps remember this is when the peak of the refugees, not only from Syria but also coming from Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Somalia, Eritrea, traversed deserts, crossed the Mediterranean Ocean just to go through Greece or Italy or Spain, and then from there walk by foot to more secure countries in the north, like Germany, Sweden, and um, Netherlands. Imagine walking for days with your family to find refuge, to have a secure area where you can live, you can be free from sectoral violence, from persecution, from dictatorship. So Germany, as one of the member countries of the European Union, welcomed most of the refugees, not just because of its responsibility, not just because Germany is a signatory to the Geneva Convention of Human Rights, but perhaps because it's also about demographics. As you can see here, the population of Germany, more old people are there, and less of a younger generation are coming in. This would also be a little bit difficult for the social security system. If lesser people pay the social security, then there will be a deficit in the future. So there should be an imperative action should be taken place. So when young and able workers can come in, they could provide this gap. Of course, here I show you the number of application for asylums filed from 2012 all the way to 2016. And well, this is the recent data that I gathered. This is from Weinbrenner, one of the secretaries in the Ministry of the Interior in Germany. And as you can see, by 2016, there was more than 700,000 applications alone. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of them stayed. But you can imagine 1.5 million refugees came into Germany seeking for refuge. How could they integrate into the system? How could they learn the language? More so, how could they learn politics so that they can share their story and be part of the German society? How can they be future Europeans? Could they do that? German Integration Act, or the Integrationsgesetz, was passed in 2016 with the goal of early intervention by focusing on language learning for later employment. Because German government believes that through work, refugees could better integrate into the society. This law also provides for early access to integration courses. What is an integration course? This would mean literary course. Literacy would mean learning how to read and write. Because most refugees don't know how to read and write. So they have to learn. German language up to the level of B1. If you know the German reference framework for languages, you have the A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. C2 would be the native speaker level, and then the A1 would be the beginner's level. Their goal should be at least B1 so that they could converse with locals. Most Europeans here will also understand this. And of course, afterwards, refugees or recognized refugees, not just any other refugees, recognized refugees, are entitled for the orientation course. But what is the orientation course? Just to give you an example of how the system works. So from one, you have the test. They will be test first if they can speak already the language, and then they will have the literacy course, and then the basic German language course, and then the orientation course, and then they will have another test. However, uh, after the language course, they will have a test, language test, and after the orientation course, they will have another test. If they pass both tests, then they could that could help them stay longer in Germany. The orientation course has the following goals. First, trigger the understanding of the German political system, develop the positive assessment of the German state, convey the knowledge of the rights and responsibilities of residents and citizens, develop the ability to orient oneself better or the methodical expertise, enable the participation into the society through knowledge, of course, and gain intercultural competency. Why? Because you know that German society is a very much homogeneous society. It's very distinct from their own. So through this course, refugees learn how to interact, not only with Germans, but perhaps also with Europeans. Thus, the role of the teacher is very much fundamental. Because if the teacher doesn't know how to assess or how to navigate both worlds, integration will not work. And yes, if you want to ask, yes, I'm one of these integration teachers. The German government sanctions actually those who are allowed to teach. Not everybody can teach. If you speak German, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can teach. You have to have the expertise. And fortunately, I was given this great opportunity to teach fellow migrants like my own. Just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, understanding all of this. Of course, now we speak in English, but imagine you are a refugee. How do you understand what is this? What is this? What is this? Well, I will tell you. These are 3 blocks that I teach my participants in German. First is politics and democracy, all about politics, all about German political system, all about the basic law in German, the constitution. Second, Geschichte und Verantwortung, history and responsibility. It teaches you from World War II, the effects of the Nazi regime towards the European Union. If it's in English, we would understand, but it's in German. And third, Mensch und Gesellschaft, self and the society, intercultural traits. These are just blocks that they have to learn. Now, so I discussed this one. These are the 3 main blocks. Now comes my research. I taught 2 groups of refugees in 2 cities in a rural area in Germany, in Brandenburg, Germany. It's near Berlin. Now my question is, basing the data from the 2 groups that I taught, from a rural area in Brandenburg, is the orientation course enough, in its current form, enough so that refugees can attain political integration into the German society? Now you may ask, what do you mean by political integration? I got the political integration theory from Professor Sabrini's Ashur book, Bürger muslimischen Glaubens, politische Bildung im Kontext von Migration und Integration im Islam, Citizens of Muslim Belief, Civic Education in the Context of Migration, Integration in Islam. Her theory was mainly based on Harmut Esser's theory of social integration that has 4 main components. The cultural one, competency in language and knowledge in language, German language. Number 2, structural, assumption of key positions in the political system, study formal training, jobs, residency, and rights. Third, social relationship in everyday life. And fourth, identity, or the emotional connection to the relevant social system. Now, I will go back to this identity and the emotion because this is where I did my experiment. I just have to make sure that this is passed. This is very important. This study is very important because this talks about how refugees integrate into the German political society. My research method was qualitative comparative study of 2 groups, face-to-face group administration and surveys, field work, And the data from the test of the Leben in Deutschland, this is the test for the orientation course where they learn about politics, history, and society. So these are the two groups that I taught, one in Rathenow and one in Falkensee. That's me. So my framework is, would the orientation course enough to have the political integration? And I meant by that cultural, passing the life in German test, structural, assumption of positions in political system through political parties or being active in political parties, social contacts with locals, local and migrant organization identity, the desire to claim German citizenship. Of course, my intervening variables will be the learning by experience, the project-based neurodidactic approach, and the involvement of the local community. I would just have to teach a little bit about neurodidactics. Neurodidactics suggests that the curiosity in the limbic system of the brain must first be activated because the limbic system is the one responsible for assessing if the incoming impulse or knowledge is important or not. And this is important in determining the direction of the success of learning. Neurodidactics suggests that learning must be based on the previous knowledge, learning methods must be diverse, movements while learning should be considered, and different visual media should enhance the learning experience. Most importantly, emotions must be triggered because positive emotions lead to motivation, and motivation leads to success in learning. And of course, I want it to be fun because if you're not having fun, you'll not learn. And I'm a fun person, so that's where I come in. My hypothesis is positive. Orientation course is enough. Negative hypothesis is not enough. Alternative hypothesis, by combining the project-based and the involvement of the local community, we can achieve somehow political integration of refugees through orientation course. Now what I did was, we went to different cities, different areas where we can learn democracy. Here we are in the city hall. I just had two groups. The one in Rathenow, they have another teacher, and one in Falkensee, it was me. So with my group in Falkensee, we went to the city hall and we talked to the mayor to learn about local democracy. We went to the state parliament in Potsdam, where we visited the parliament and then talked with local politicians from our district. We also went to Berlin. We talked with one of the German parliamentary candidates from the left party, and then we visited the parliament. We were also able to get funding so that we could all go to Brussels and learn European politics, or at least European democracy through parliamentarism. My goal was to evoke positive emotions so that they could learn. And I'm now in my conclusion, don't worry. Some results from Rathenow. Cultural. Most learners from Rathenow achieve only A2 level for the German test for immigrants, which is not enough. And all of them were not able to pass the Life in Germany test. Second, participants from this group were not active during the September 2017 German elections and the mayoralty election in Rathenow last January. The group in Rathenow remained with their own set of friends 2 years since coming to Germany. And this is very important. The desire to go back to their own countries is high among the participants in this group. However, in the Falkensee group, this is the result of the test. So you have, the test has 33 questions, and most of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, got 33 over 33. This is the group who went to Falkensee, Rathenow, Falkensee, Potsdam, Berlin, and Brussels. So most of them passed. Some participants became politically active during the parliamentary elections and campaigned for the Green Party. Well, most participants have good relationship with the community because it also helped that there is a special organization in Falkensee that Welcome Initiative B80 dedicated to help refugees to integrate into the city faster. And the group from Falkensee became more aware of different political and democratic system around them, manifested by their keen interest, by their desire to acquire German citizenship in the future. So the summary is, the results so far negate the positive hypothesis and validate the negative hypothesis as reflected by the results in the group from Rathenow, which indicated that the orientation course alone is not sufficient in achieving political integration.